weeks from Daytona International Speedway continue here for Season 4 of the NNSCRA Hersheys Cup Series as we continue to make our way towards the 4th annual running of the Great American Race Hersheys Cup Series Daytona 500. But we got to find out who's going to be starting on the pole and on the outside of the front row for that race. And so tonight we are getting ready for pole day qualifying from Daytona International Speedway. The 35 drivers that are the chartered rides going to be making their way onto the racetrack here tonight. Fastest 2 speeds will start on the front row for the Daytona 500. They will be joined by, we already know, 4 drivers that made their way in on speed for the non-chartered rides, those including Charles Jackson, Jordan Lopez, Carson Gum, and Daniel Gilbert. 3 other drivers still to be determined tomorrow night when we have our last chance qualifying race. Top 3 will transfer into the 500, and then the rest of the Daytona 500 field will be determined the following night by the Gatorade Duels, and then we will have our Great American Race. So let's get out there on the track. Let's see what these drivers can do. As we're going to be trying to introduce to you all 35 chartered drivers that are going to be trying to make their way into the chase for the championship this season, as well as start the season off with a bang in winning the Great American Race. Here's the first car that I saw get on track. Tim Walsh in the number 15 car. 5-Hour Energy Chevrolet, and Tim Walsh back for another season. He was a former chaser last season, back with Michael Norman Motorsports. Michael Norman Motorsports having a total of 3 chartered rides this season, as they brought on Nathan Hudson once again, as well as Michael Norman retiring last season, now turning his ride over to rookie Brooke Allen, who finished runner-up in the Pizza Hut X Series Championship standings last year. Oh, a little itchy there with the trigger finger. Matt Haas back for a 2nd season, the Bass Pro Shops Toyota Camry. Matt Haas was a 2-time winner last season, if memory serves me correctly. And Matt Haas was a former chaser as well. Was the only rookie, as a matter of fact, last season to make the chase for the championship. This season, running with a 3-car team for Furniture Row Motorsports. His 2 teammates you saw last night, Seth Cole and John Cittadino. Right behind them, the champ is here. Kyle Matthews, the defending champion of the series. Back once again with Retro Racing Enterprises, that very familiar light blue Kings Island Chevrolet. Kyle Matthews trying to build off of what was a career year for him last season. Inside there, Joshua Sekuli moving over to CJ Racing. Sekuli last year was driving for WF9 Motorsports, and now moving over with a team that's running Chevy Impalas. Number 33. Forgot what that company is called. Eggplant Unlimited or something like that, I think it is. Apologize for not remembering it. But we'll see how Sekuli does. Sekuli had a great season back in Season 2 when he was a non-chartered rider, then ended up getting a charter later on in the season, but it wasn't enough to make the chase. Last season, though, was really anything but mediocre. I mean, he didn't exactly have the best of runs, and we'll have to see if maybe a new season and a new team will be able to help him out in that respect. Got a big pack of cars right here. There is another representative of Michael Norman Motorsports, Nathan Hudson. We're going to now bring up your, as we're 5 minutes into this thing, we're going to bring up your speed chart so you can see who's currently running 1st and 2nd. And actually, there's one of them right there. 2nd place on the charts with a 45.157. Nathan Hudson, the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. Hudson back in Season 2 actually ran for Michael Norman Motorsports. He was a non-chartered ride at the time. Then ended up going to Anime Racing Team last season, where they drove Chevrolets, and then came back here to Michael Norman Motorsports full-time in the 16 car. Right behind him, Dallas McIntosh, trading a Ford for a Chevrolet. Last year drove the Cheez-It Ford Fusion for Roush Fenway Racing. Was only one of 2 drivers as a part of that effort and that team. That team now has recently folded up, and now Dallas McIntosh has moved over to Sega Motorsports. And so we'll see how he does. Sega Motorsports had both of their drivers last season make it into the chase for the championship, so we'll see what McIntosh can do. He also made it in the chase last season when he drove the Ford Fusion. There's another driver that ended up making the chase, Cody Lamas. He was in a Chevy, though, last season with NW Racing. NW Racing still with the services of Cody Lamas and Lowe's, but now over with a Dodge Dart team. Both he and Benjamin Miles running Dodges, so we'll have to see how that transition works out for them. Right now, he is second fastest on the board behind Nathan Hudson. So right now, that's your front row you're looking at in that screenshot. Dylan Poteet, the number 31 Chevrolet. Dylan Poteet was actually really good last season. Made it into the chase for the championship and was actually quite a dominating character until we got into basically the next to last round of the chase. We'll have to see how Dylan Poteet does. And the big thing that for Dylan Poteet that I asked him about, what he was really looking forward to this season, is that he's going to actually have a teammate in every single race this season now, as James McLeod was able to pick up a charter for his 51 team. We'll see him at some point of this practice session. Joseph Strigley back in the number 24 Pepsi Exalta Chevrolet. Very familiar colors for Strigley Motorsports, as that team's kind of been in a little bit of catch as catch can in the off-season, signing new drivers, releasing some others, and we'll see what Joseph Strigley can do. A two-time winner last season, won back-to-back races during the chase for the championship. So we'll have to see if maybe he can get those wins earlier on this season. We can finally make the chase for the championship here in Season 4. No stranger to Daytona and victory lanes. Sean Galligan was the defending Daytona 500 winner in Season 3. Sean Galligan trying to pick up his second Daytona 500 victory now, as he's trying to look for a better year than last year. Yeah, he won the Daytona 500, but he was running so poorly in the point stands. By the time the chase came around, his win didn't count for the chase position. So Sean Galligan needs a much more consistent season with Seth Kohlbaker Motorsports to try and make the chase for the championship here this season. We mentioned Michael Norman departing from the Hersheys Cup Series. Well, the 3 is still here. A new driver, though. Brooke Allen in the Taco Bell Chevrolet out of Michael Norman Motorsports. Brooke Allen, we already know her resume, finishing runner-up to Benny Watson in the Pizza Hut X Series last season. So Brooke Allen definitely coming off a great year in that series, and we'll have to see if that transitions over to a great rookie debut here in the Hersheys Cup Series. Kat Tellier moving over to a new number and a new manufacturer. The team of KAB Racing Enterprises moving over to Lincoln's, and a new number 70 for Kat Tellier, 35 last season, former chaser, trying to have a good sophomore season this year. We'll see her teammate Keith Batson in just a moment as well. There is Emmanuel Hartnett for Fire Ice Racing, the only driver for Fire Ice Racing that is a chartered ride, driving the Dustless Blaster number 83 colors here tonight. There's Anthony McCrory, former winner of the defending winner of the Sprint Unlimited, and he currently was at the top of the leaderboard. He's now dropped to 12th. Jake Baskinger, different look for that car, moving to the number 5 out of AS Racing. Baskinger drove the past 2 seasons in a Dodge Dart for Fitzwater Australia Racing, and then in Season 1 he drove a Ford for Levine Family Racing. All 3 seasons, though, he made the chase for the championship. We'll have to see now, moving over to a new team and a new manufacturer, if he can go 4 for 4 in making the chase for the championship. Already mentioned Anthony McCurry. There's the other Lincoln. Keith Batson, the number 39 Texaco Haviland colors, but you can see just a much different looking front end on those Lincolns this year. Garrett Sidner replacing the retiring Carson Scott. Sidner drove last season as a non-chartered effort for CJ Racing, now driving for AS Racing full-time. So we'll have to see how Garrett Sidner does in a full-time ride. As to his outside is JT Bryant, the starbound Ford Fusion out of Young Motorsports. Bryant, a former winner last season. To his inside is Joshua Michaels, the Honda Accord. Back in the number 10. New sponsorship on that ride, though. Brandon Gonzalez also with some somewhat new sponsorship. Look at the Pokeballs for his wheel hubcaps. That is awesome looking. Pokemon Go, the sponsorship on his Mitsubishi Lancer this year. there's the happy boy in the field, James McLeod. Didn't know if he was going to be racing with a charter this season, but they were able to secure a charter from the 11 team last year. And James McLeod going to be running full-time this season in the Hersheys Cup Series. So we'll have to see how he does, being able to make every single race. There's his teammate Dylan Poteet on pit road. Blaine Keys drove the number 8 last season, still sponsored by U.S. Army this season, but now with the number 42 out of Sega Motorsports. He was a former winner last year, made the chase for the championship. He'll look to do the same here this season. And there's his teammate and team owner, Trent Dunham of Sega Motorsports. Different looking colors on that Sega car this season, similar to the Credit One bank scheme that Jay McMurray's driven for the 2017 season. As there's Chris Dodd trying to fit his way in there, former Hersheys Cup Series champion. Coming off the Season 2 championship, his season was really anything but good last year. Did not have a lot of success, but now driving over in Chevy Impalas. We'll have to see how he does. Levi McIntyre back in the WWE Supercard Ford Fusion for Young Motorsports. McIntyre, much like Chris Dodd, trying to get a much better season than he did last year. Here's the 08 car of Leon Alvarez. Alvarez drove the 33 last season for CJ Racing. Still with CJ Racing, but now driving the 08 car full-time. The Aaron's Dream Machine Chevy Impala. Right behind him, new look for John Arndt. Saw him in the Reddit Chevrolet. He'll still be driving for Reddit this season, but the Zaxby's sponsorship coming on to that AS Racing's number 05 team as well. Right behind him, Zach Flickinger in the number 74. Flickinger drove last season for Fire Race Racing, now moving over to a Dodge Dart team with Gardner Racing. And you can bet that Flickinger is going to be basically a study case for Gardner Racing, because a lot of Gardner Racing cars down in the non-chartered series are going to try and make their way up into the main races, and they'll be using that 74 is a study case, depending on how he does. Another Dodge Dart back here. Fitzwater Australia Racing's representative in Zachary Fitzwater, the Wilson Security Dodge Dart that we've seen him run for the past 2 seasons. Fitzwater made the chase for the championship last season, was eliminated in the first round though. So we'll see what he can do here this season. Cole Baker, number 18, No Man's Sky Ford Fusion out of Seth Cole Baker Motorsports, former chaser last season. Right behind him, a driver that's looking to try and counter a struggling year last year. He was a 3-time winner in Season 2, went nil in the win column last season. Charles Sanford out of Retro Racing Enterprises. Still a number of drivers we haven't seen yet. There's one of them, Johnny Gardner in the 026 Discount Tire Chevrolet out of Gardner Racing. Or no, I'm sorry, that's Fitzwater Australia Racing, I should say. Getting that confused there. Maybe I'm wrong, hang on. Let me quickly just double check my list here. I believe it is Fitzwater Australia Racing, and indeed it is. So we'll probably see Flickinger, Gardner, and Fitzwater all work together in the races that we see. There's Benjamin Miles Dodge Dart, the Napa Auto Parts Dodge Dart former well, no, he wasn't a chaser last season. He had a win last season, but he wasn't high enough in the point stand to have that win counted as a chase spot. Dylan Young, the Chicago Cubs, Chicago Blackhawks Ford Fusion. Hasn't won since Season 2, so he's looking for a breakout year. When we had the summer race here at Daytona, it was Jessica Shelton who took the checkered flag. There she is, back in the very familiar Mountain Dew paint scheme for Retro Racing Enterprises. And now I think we may have touched on everybody in this field. Certainly looks like it. Right now, top of the leaderboard goes to the defending Daytona 500 winner, Sean Galligan. Matter of fact, the Brits have swept the front row. Sean Galligan and Nathan Hudson are first and second right now. Galligan with a 44.595, just 4 1,000ths off with a 45.599. Nathan Hudson's Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. So right now, it's looking like Galligan may start on the pole with Hudson in second. Cody Lamas just a tick off in third. Josh Cooley in fourth. Tim Walsh in fifth. Matthews, Haas, Poteet, McIntosh, and Srigley are the top 10 right now. With about 5 seconds remaining on the clock. Sean Galligan. This would be the second straight season Seth Cole Baker Motorsports has sat on the pole as well, because last season the pole position was held by then rookie driver, well no, it wasn't even a rookie last season, but Cole Baker, who we actually see back there in the back end of the shot. He sat on the pole for the 500 last year. So it looks like a Seth Cole Baker Motorsports Ford Fusion will sit on the pole for the second straight year in the Great American Race Daytona 500. I don't remember who sat on the outside of the front row. I don't know if I could find out in time before the session's over either. Trying to remember back, and I cannot seem to pull it in, at least not quickly enough. Right now, only drivers that hit the 44.5s, like they're going to be in good shape. 19 seconds remaining in the session is, I think, pretty much over. I think it's just now cool down. Gonna take a look real quickly here at the video to see, back in the archive, see who actually did start on the outside of the front row alongside of Cole Baker. And the session is now complete. And, oh, it was actually James Richardson last year. Richardson, who now is running full-time in the Pizza Hut X Series. So, that's how it's going to end up. Sean Galligan will be on the pole. Nathan Hudson will start on the outside of the front row for the Great American Race. The rest of these other drivers, as well as the front row, will take part in the Gatorade Duels to see where they will start for the Daytona 500. We mentioned down through 10th, Johnny Gardner 11th, Arndt in 12th, Brooke Allen 13th, not a bad effort. Alvarez, Flickinger there in 14th and 15th. Shelton, we saw McCrory top of the leaderboard early on. He dropped to 17th. Fitzwater, Miles, Bryant, that was your top 20. Should look on down through the remainder of the starting lineup there. You got Dylan Young, Trent Dunham, Jake Baskinger down there, Sanford, Gonzalez, McIntyre, McLeod. A lot of big names down there at the bottom of the list, but with a good run in the Gatorade Duels coming up later this week, they could end up having themselves a good starting spot still for the Great American Race. So that is going to do it here. Sean Galligan, Nathan Hudson, they will be your front row for the Daytona 500. Next up, we need to determine the final 3 drivers that will be in the non-chartered slots for the Great American Race. That'll be our first points-paying race for the non-charter series. That'll be coming up next. And then we've got our Gatorade Duels to determine the Daytona 500. And then we have the Great American Races running. So that's going to do it here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this qualifying session. Congrats again to Galligan and Hudson for starting on the front row for the 500. If you enjoyed this session, please sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and become part of the crew today. We've shown you your full practice results, or qualifying results, I should say. Next up, as I said, is the non-charters first race for the Daytona. Then we've got the Gatorade Duels, and then the Great American Race's 4th annual running. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I've been Seth Cole, and we'll see you guys next time as you've been watching production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.